Hey, man, you live, man.
You hear me now, though.
You live, man.
Yeah. So I'm super excited because this week I get to have a bunch of friends.
You're always
in.
super excited.
Oh, fuck you. Damn, I gotta work on the profanity because if it screws with the YouTube and everything, so we have to tone down the profanity. But no, I am excited today. I get to have a lot of my friends in today. I have an exciting week. I was just in Salt Lake at a training, and bouncing around, has been rough on me all week. But starting today, because it's Olympia week, I get to have some really cool folks in. So one of them today has been on a podcast in the past with me. He's one of the more accomplished dudes that I've been around. And, just being where we're from, it's so awesome to have Chris in and to have him not just tell his story, because he's told his story quite a few times. His story's out there. It's more to have him give us his insight into different parts of his process, his thinking, and what he likes to do, because he's so meticulous with his team and he's so aware of the product that he puts out there, including himself in that. When I say product, I mean not just his company, not just what he does on the outside, but on the inside too. So I'm really excited to have Chris Cavallini from Nutrition Solutions in.
Thank you, brother. It's good to be here.
And, just so everybody knows, Chris and I come from the same area. I grew up in East Boston. And, it's hard to find good guys. Myself, Jay, him, that have been through this journey and kind of ended up on the other side and met through happenstance in the business. But I just love having guys from the neighborhood that I'm still hanging at the White Hen. I know that hits home for Chris.
It does.
So tell me, get right into it. Everybody knows your personal story.
Sure.
But tell me, let's get into more Nutrition Solutions and how you've kind of got to this point, because I see what you're putting out there and I love it. You're holding people to a higher level of accountability, not just in work, in life.
Yeah. So, I was arrested 17 times prior to my 18th birthday, another half a dozen times between the, ages of 18 to 33. So I used to live my life a lot differently than I do now. I was a drug dealer for a lot of years, and the way that I was able to successfully transition from my former life to, where I'm at now is by making the decision to raise my standards and committing to a standard of excellence. You had mentioned, the standard that I hold my team to, and, my personal life and such. I found that it is much easier to maintain a consistent standard of excellence across all areas of life, personally, professionally. It's easier to do that than, be good at some things and really not give a shit about this and, be half step in this. And, as far as the team is concerned, I love winning. I mean, winning is important to me. And, whether people want to admit it or not, whether they like to hear this or not, I mean, there's a game being played out there. And, every day, we get up and we go in a battle and we're competing. So in order to win, in order to dominate, in order to continue to move forward, which is the most important thing, to me personally and professionally, I have to hold my team to a standard. Accountability is, paramount to success. And as I move forward, as I continue to grow and continue to, set new targets and hit new goals, one of the things that is very, very important to me, and one of the things that I'm going to continue to focus on, is bringing as many people up during that process with me as I can.
I love it, and I take pages of notes every time I have a guest in, but I love the themes. Is it something that when you bring somebody into your culture, okay, in the company, and let's say they don't fit the culture, all right, how swiftly do you deal with that, and how important is it to you to weed out someone who doesn't fit you guys culturally?
As quickly as possible, and it is extremely important. I mean, culture is everything. So we have a pretty thorough process that we put people through, and we will interview people at least 3 times before we make a hiring decision. We are trying to figure out early on if they in fact will be about that life, should I say.
Yeah, no, I love it.
And if in fact they do meet the minimum criteria to basically be offered a position, they're still in a probationary period, their first 30 days. We have something at our company that's called the FNG program, the fucking new guy. And during the first 30 days, a new team member at Nutrition Solutions, they do not wear the uniform. They don't wear our logo. They haven't earned that privilege yet. and basically we're basically assessing their attention to detail. We're assessing their willingness to take pride in the smaller, more monotonous tasks, and basically just overall their energy and their attitude. I mean, those are the two most important things at Nutrition Solutions. In regard to our culture, is attitude and energy. And at the end of the day, somebody can come in and have all the skills. They could be the most experienced, highly skilled individual, but if they're not a good cultural fit, they gotta fucking go.
What's the percentage? I mean, are you like 30% drop off? you know?
Well, so it's tough to say now, because I mean, it used to be higher because we didn't do as good of a job up front with the kind of vetting process, so to speak. And now, obviously, we're trying to be a lot more efficient, and we're doing as much upfront work as possible to make sure when we bring people in the door that they are a good fit. But of course, there's still attrition, and there's still people that don't make it. There's people that either quit because they decide that
it's not for them.
It's not for them,
Yeah.
and that's completely cool. I respect that. If somebody comes and just basically says like, "Look, this company's awesome. This place is great. It's just not for me." I mean, basically, that just tells me that they're not willing to kind of commit to that standard of excellence. They're not willing to put in the work and sacrifice, because part of working at Nutrition Solutions, means you're committed to getting better.
Yeah, I love all this. I'm taking notes feverishly because I eat this stuff up. I've said for years, I expect nothing, I blame no one, and I do my job. And that's a combination of a number of things. I can deal with people that are unorganized. I can deal with people that are all over the place, because you can only really control two things in life. You can only control your loyalty and what time you show up to work. The rest you can kind of mold someone into. You can kind of bring them, a little bit along the way.
Yeah,
like you see me, I know it drives you nuts that I'm a disaster. I throw things on my desk. I throw things there. I know it drives Chris.
Piece of paper
I know
that was on
him.
your truck.
Yeah, I know him well enough that I know it drives him nuts. And there was a time he and I flirted with the idea of working together a little bit and peel back that onion a cunt hair. Oh, I gotta tone it back, but it's one of those things. I know how tough he is, and I would have to demand even more of myself. But I have like him, I have other things too that I look at and I hold myself accountable to, whether it's jiu-jitsu at night, whether it's training. And I'm very, my thing is just get there, man. Any way you can get there, get there. And I can work with a guy who does that. And sometimes you're all over the place doing that. You demand a lot of people that I feel need that. Okay, maybe I don't need that extra push. I could do a better. Chris, I'm working on keeping the desk clean.
Sure.
I am. But
it's beautiful in here, by the way. It's a great setup.
I love you, brother.
I'm serious.
No, I genuinely do, because he makes me more accountable. but where do you see now? I know you take a lot of pride in bringing in guys that have been through a similar journey as you. Maybe not as bad, because you've seen it all. You are someone that I look at and I'm like, how is he still doing it? And he's doing it so successfully at a high level. What do you see in these people that other people don't? And I say these people. I know Q's like, what you mean these people? But I know and I'm talking about former criminals, guys who've been through the gamut. What is it you see in them? And do you see, teach me, what do you see?
Yeah, so basically what you're asking is the decision that I've made to basically make Nutrition Solutions basically a safe haven, a place of second chances. And I proudly, employ convicted felons, people who've been in prison, people who've suffered from, a history of substance abuse, people who've been homeless, et cetera, et cetera. Now, for the longest time, the majority of the time that, I've been in business, I mean, that was what the company primarily consisted of. Now, obviously, in order to grow, we've had to make, certain adjustments. I've had to get, different people with, more experience and
different talent levels.
Sure. And it's funny because I just hired a new executive chef, and this guy is a badass. I mean, this dude is just incredible. He's by far probably the best chef I've had by like times 10. And, worked in high-level casinos and just done like a bunch of shit. I mean, he can like carve ice sculptures with a fucking chainsaw. But this guy, I mean, like, he did time. He basically, what was it? Assault with a deadly weapon, kidnapping. Some guy was fucking with his brother, and him and his brother went, found the guy, beat his ass, stuck him in a potato sack, stuck him in the trunk of the car, drove him around for a few hours, then dropped him back off in his own neighborhood, still in the potato sack.
Was his name Mel Chauncey? I'm
No,
sorry, but I love you.
it wasn't, but that was a different lifetime. But, you know, the fact is, people who've been through some shit, I mean, a lot of times, like, they can actually be your most significant assets. They can be some of your best people because they've got a taste of the bottom. They know what it's like to have everything stripped away, and they're just so grateful. They're just so driven, some of them. And, you know, with the right structure, the right accountability, the right push, you know, the right support, they can just develop into something so much more. But just reeling it all in and answer your question, I obviously was able to successfully turn my life around. I have been through a lot. I think that's fair to say, an accurate assessment of my life's journey. And, you know, the reality of it is, the research shows that people who've been through and have experienced what I've been through, they don't make it out on top. You know, they either end up in prison, they end up drug addicts, they end up homeless, or they end up dead. So being that I was able to do what I've done, and being that, you know, gratitude and basically giving back, helping people that needed help more than me, that was part of the process that I followed to begin to figure out what the path forward was for me. And being that worked for me, being that, you know, it feels great to do it, I just have taken on the responsibility of just helping other people figure out what it is I was able to figure out by basically bringing them into an environment that basically has process set up, the same process that I followed on a personal level to change my life. I mean, I built that ecosystem within my company as far as mandatory personal development. I pay these guys to work out. I pay them to go out in the community, to give back, to feed the homeless, to just basically clean up, you know, in the local community. All of these things that basically are engineered to just make them better human beings, to teach them how to think different, to teach them how to act different, and to understand that it's not just about them. When you serve a higher purpose beyond your own needs, that is when you're able to feel the feelings that, you know, are basically will compel you and drive you to take the action that you need to create the better life for yourself.
How important is positivity to you?
Dude, it's fucking it's everything. And I'm like, I get a little annoyed, like,
I know,
like, you know what I mean? Like, it's fucking crazy to me how so many people just willingly accept and tolerate negativity in their life, in their circle, personally, professionally. It's insane to me, because I objectively am aware now, and I have a fundamental understanding of just how damaging negativity can be to one's personal and professional growth. I mean, like, your life is a direct reflection of, you know, the people you surround yourself with, the information that you consume, and the environment you spend the most time in. The people in your life are either, I mean, they do one of two things. They either make your life better or make your life worse. Now, of course, there's varying levels to each, but it legitimately is one or the other. And when people make the decision consciously to allow negativity and to complaining and just shitty energy in their life, they are literally fucking up their entire life. And to me, that's just like super irresponsible. Positivity, you know, I'm not, you know, like the most positive person, you know, when I speak, but I try to live a life that, you know, is meaningful. I try to lead by example. I try to do good things. I try to be kind to other people. And, you know, by doing that, which is a very easy thing to do, I feel like it's harder to kind of go the other way. By doing that, like, I've just realized that good things tend to happen, and it's become, it wasn't always part of my natural personality. I worked at it, and, you know, now it is part of my natural personality, and just good things have happened. So I'm just going to continue down this path and just make sure that I'm being mindful of my energy, and I'm being mindful of the people that I bring to my company and our environment. You know, our culture is very important to us, and negativity is something that literally there's a zero tolerance policy for. And, you know, I've terminated people. I mean, recently in the last few months, we let a couple people go for negativity. It's that, I mean, it's that important, and I'm aware of it. That's the thing. Most people simply aren't aware of how something is affecting them in a negative way until, you know, maybe one day that thing is no longer in their life. Maybe they finally decide to cut that person out, or, you know, this situation that's not serving them, and then they feel so much different. And it's like, wow, that's crazy. So, you know, that's happened to me so many times, and now, like, I go on the offense to look for things to cut out and just situations that aren't serving me or contributing to the betterment of my life.
I feel like you're so onto something, and you're what I love about you is two things. So people come at me with something. People have said that, you know, like I've seen the comments under some of your stuff. They say, you know, wow, I could never work for that guy. And I say it really simply because I live the same way. I say, but he's not asking anything of his employees that he doesn't ask of himself. He's walking around. I mean, this guy picked up the trash off my truck, and I'm not going to say I planted it there. But I know the kind of character he is and the kind of guy he is. And maybe there was a little Kim's game going on, but I know this guy well enough. If the toilet has to be fixed, he's not a guy. I know people have seen pictures of Chris in front of the cars, everything. But he's like, I'll go clean the toilet right now.
Of course.
And I'll do it better than everybody else.
Much
and then I'll train the guy how to do it that's supposed to do it myself. And that's what's amazing about you. And I'm the same way. I'll go everywhere I have to go. I'll run every training course I have to run. I'll train with anybody. I think it's one of these things. In Moneyball, so the book Moneyball, he gets out there and he writes, okay, he says, you know, there's two types of people in this world. Lenny Dykstra was the type of baseball player. He looked at Nolan Ryan and he said, he didn't even know who he was, didn't know any of his stats. He said, oh, fuck it, I'll hit him. You know? And then there's the guy who looks at Nolan Ryan and says, I can't hit him. Okay? You look at the world and you say, that's a toilet, it's in my building, I'm going to make sure it's clean. I'm going to make sure it's done better than anybody else. And they're going to learn from my example. And I'm going to set the tone. And you set the tone for your whole team. You're not a guy who does it from you know, on top of a perch. And I love that about you. I think that says a lot about you. Where does that come in? Is that the military? Is that where we grew up? Is that 17 times arrested? Is that just learning that there's a right way and a wrong way to do things?
Yeah, so it's not just in my company. I mean, this is just how I've mentally trained myself to be. Like I mean, every day I'm picking up pieces of paper, pieces of trash that, you know, if I'm like walking my dog or like I go to the gym and I see like I just feel like it is a very easy thing to do. And I also think that, like, you know, wow, if, let's say, 1/3 of the population picked up one piece of trash like every third day, the entire world would look completely different. People would be more positive, like just the environment would be better. Like, I just feel like any opportunity that I have to take, that I can do something to make the world a better place, regardless of how big or small, I want to take advantage of that. And the fact is, when I started to turn my life around, you know, I was like 26, 27 is when I started to think about turning my life around. It's like I didn't know like what to do. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what the future had in store for me, but I knew that there was some things that I could immediately do to start becoming a better person. And some of the things were like making my bed, keeping my house as clean and organized as I could, keep my vehicle that way, and just, you know, going out of my way if there's like a piece of trash like that, just picking it up, like little things like that. And it's so strange for probably a lot of people to hear and not be able to make the connection between how those things could actually contribute to them creating a better life for themselves. And it was very difficult for me to connect that as well. But it's like I was so adamant about changing my life and bettering myself. And like, you know, these are things that I read, you know, and I read it and heard it like multiple times in multiple books by multiple authors. I'm like, well, there's got to be something to this. I started doing it. And like after making my bed for a week, which, you know, I got in the military, like I had to make my bed all the time, and I was on it. I got out. I just stopped making my bed for some reason. I mean, I lost a lot of discipline when I got out of the military, and that was obviously didn't turn out to be. It's funny I say it wasn't a good decision for me, but it ended up working out obviously favorably with the way everything unfolded. But it's like making your bed every day, like just getting up like first thing in the morning, making your bed, like you've just accomplished the first task of the day. You've just accomplished your first win of the day, a win, mind you, that will basically carry momentum with it. You know, you get up, you set your alarm for a reason. You have to honor the commitment that you have made with yourself. Okay, you didn't set it so you can snooze for, you know, 18 more minutes, which at that point puts you behind, puts you, you know, like stressed in the morning, having to, you know, get to work as fast as possible, not be prepared. Like, You set your alarm in the morning for a specific time. You wake up as soon as that alarm hits, okay? You've just got the first win of the day, and you make your bed. Now you're 2 in a row. At that point, you got some momentum, and that momentum you'll be able to carry that with you throughout the day. And how you do one thing is how you do all things. Fact. So I mean, it all starts with shit like this, and I tell people this all the fucking time. All these people out there that want to do these big things, they have these big goals, and I want to do this.
T-shirt company.
Yeah, it's like, look, that's great, and I hope that you are able to accomplish that. But the fact is, if you can't even fucking pick up a piece of paper off the ground, if you can't replace a roll of toilet paper, if you can't make your bed, if you can't keep your fucking car clean, like, look, in order to do big things, you first have to master all the little things.
I love that. I want to let that simmer for a second. That's awesome. Now, it's crazy to me.
This is good, by the way.
The BLK one?
Yeah.
Thank you, Bruce Cardenas.
Yeah, shout out to BLK. Good stuff.
BLK. It's amazing to me. I mean, it's awesome. And I can neither confirm nor deny that I planted the trash, but I knew after he picked it up, I had the right man. I want to talk a little bit about where we come from. And I'm the same way. And I noticed where we come from, it's 2 extremes. You have the people that get off the corner, and we talked about this before, and the people that never leave. Mm-hmm. You and I could go back, and it's like the same 7, 8 faces at the same Chinese restaurant, sitting around drinking the same drinks, and I know you know what I'm talking about. It's crazy to me how Boston has become kind of this, place of, movies now and everything else, and it's been glamorized. But it really is kind of a city of extremes.
Yeah.
And that's something that's traveled with me. And Jay and I were talking about a Cutler. It's something with where we're from. Either people leave with a tireless work ethic, or they never leave their grandma's house in the 3-decker.
Sure. And
that's where they stay forever, and they're still there.
Yeah. So, really quickly, just to kind of, when we did the last podcast that we were on, we talked about back home. I got on social media some people that saw the podcast that were from the same area that I was from. People that knew me coming up. They got offended about some of the things that we said, and it's funny because we know that typically when people get offended, when people get resentful, or they don't like. We know why that is. It's like deep down they know it's fucking true. And the reality of it is, like, I have a handful of friends that I still talk to that I came up with that are doing good. They're successful in their own regard. Like up there, it's like it doesn't really matter what you do. You could get in the union and just crush it. Like being there for 15 years and make
they're happy.
150 grand. Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't think a lot of people up there are happy. I think up there the quality of life is far less good than a lot of other places, and I think that the people that are there just simply aren't aware of it. I mean, look, I've lived in several different places, and I know that it's a cultural shock for me every time I go up there. And there's different parts of Boston, right? There's people that move there for opportunity, for business, and whatever, and then there's people that grew up there and just are all still there, and they don't really know life outside of that little bubble. And they're just to your point, there's a lot of people that still do the same shit. And honestly, like we're talking about that area, I really think this applies anywhere. Like if you grew up in the same place that you currently live in now as an adult, and you're not feeling it. Like if you're at a point in your life that things aren't going super well, you feel like something's missing, you're just frustrated, you're not moving forward, you're not making progress, you're not where you want to be. I encourage you to think about just move somewhere nice where there's nice weather. Obviously that's a huge plus. Like just go somewhere else. Believe it or not, it could be as simple as that. That could literally be a catalyst to changing your entire life, because you go somewhere else, you're in a new environment, there's new energy, there's this new opportunity, there's new potential relationships to be built, new potential relationships to be developed. And that when I basically was given an ultimatum when I was 18 or 17, either go to jail for 7 months or join the military. I joined the military, and the military got me out of the area I grew up in, and that was one of the best things that ever happened to me. when I was in boot camp, like, you know, very uncomfortable, right? They're making life as difficult for you as possible. And, you know, as a guy that grew up with no discipline and very insecure and just, you know, very aggressive personality, like that environment, you know, was difficult for me. But at the same time, like, it was weird because I felt better than I did when I was home in the negative environment, the negative household that I was living in. So atmosphere and energy is super important. We got to be mindful of that. Back to the negativity thing, like, you might have like these negative friends, these negative family members, this environment, this city, this town, that some negative shit has happened to you at some point of your life or multiple points that you now associate with that negative shit. So, you know, sometimes you just gotta like just use a little common sense, detach, and just go somewhere else and just try something different.
What was the catalyst to get you to Florida?
Well, I was in the military, man. I got, you know, I went to training in Great Lake, Illinois. Spent I think like 4 or 5 months there. Then got sent to Norfolk, Virginia for 6 months. Then I went to Navy dive school in Panama City Beach, Florida. And then when I finished dive school, completed dive school, I got stationed in Jacksonville, Florida. So that's basically where it all began, and that's what got me to Florida. And, you know, I decided to stay there because I liked it. I liked the person that I was becoming. I just liked the environment. I liked some of the people, and, you know.
I never asked you. That's why I was curious.
Yeah.
You know, what got you down there? Because I know, like, you're a tried and true Florida guy now. You know, because I loved it down there. You know, when you grow up in New England, it's funny, they talk about Florida. That's why the funniest inside joke about the movie The Town is he goes, I'm going to Florida. And when you grow up in New England, like, Florida's like
the end game.
Like, you made it, you
Yeah,
know? So,
yeah.
like, the come up.
Retirement.
Yeah.
A lot of people from up there, when they retire, they move to Florida.
It's so funny. But, you know, I went down to Miami, spent some time down there because I was working with a brand down there, and I got the opportunity to get exposed to it. And then I went out to Montana, and, you know, I was out there, and I hated as much as people say they love it, I hated the environment I was in because it's very cold, it's very dreary, it's very Pacific Northwest.
Sure.
It's beautiful, and I know Dana and Rob are out there now, and they love it. But at the same time, I couldn't take the 6 months of winter and habitual darkness.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, this is really rough. I liked a lot of the people. I just didn't love the environment. Now I had the opportunity. I went back to Miami, and then I had the opportunity to come out here. It's been super fun out here, and it's funny. Dave actually posed a tough question to me. He was like, you know, if you lived out here long term, you know, where would you live and what house would you buy? And that was the first time I kind of did the little bit of the dream scenario, like, geez, if I bought this house and I did this, you know. Oddly enough, I actually, you know, have a house in Boston too now. But, you know, when I go back, it's the same thing, Chris. It's like you go back and you're not downing the people. Like, I've had people say, well, you think you know, you're better than us. You hear that. You know, that's something you hear.
It's like, no, I know I am. I mean, like, you know, I've worked very hard to get to that point. It's not like, that's a fact, right? Like,
well, that's what I was going to say. It's not an entirely fair statement to you or to me or to anyone. Yeah. And it's like saying Jay is better than, you know, it's just, you know, no, you know, we just wanted to put ourselves in the best environment to succeed, or we feel like the best environment for us. And that was no longer in New England. It doesn't diminish the love I have for the region, for the area, for the people, for the culture. There's so much.
The thing is, John, like, if somebody ever says that, I honestly believe this. If somebody ever says, oh, you think you're better than everyone, or you think you're, dude, if that's the way somebody's thinking, if that's the way their mind works, the chances are you probably are better than that person. And they're seeing what you're doing. They're seeing you putting in the work to create positive results in your life. Right. And the reason they say things like that is because bearing witness to that, it makes them realize that, you know, like, look, they're in the same fucking place now as they were 10 years ago. And it makes them feel like shit. It makes average people feel like shit. And instead of supporting you, instead of being inspired by it and, you know, looking at what you've done and possibly, you know, following your lead and the example that, you know, you've said and making some changes of their own to move forward, like, you know, it's much easier to cast negativity at somebody and you know, because you're not happy with where you're at, you know, try to tear someone else down.
Now, you built this juggernaut at Nutrition Solutions. Where does it go from here?
Goes up, man. I mean, look, I feel like we haven't even really scratched the surface. I mean, we're still figuring, you know, solving problems. I mean, that's what business is. And, you know, this juggernaut, I mean, that's a very thank you for saying that. But I mean, honestly, I feel like we just have gotten started, and there's just so much more to do. There's so many other just ways to grow and expand the business. There's so many more people that we're going to help them change their lives, and not just the customers that we serve, but the team that comes through our doors.
I absolutely believe it's a juggernaut, and I don't think that's because I see what you're doing internally. It's not so much the outwardly facing. Like there's two. I explain this to brands all the time. You have the inward facing and you have the outward facing. You cannot, expect to have these dramatic results outwardly facing until you make the changes inwardly facing.
True.
And I've had those battles and those conversations with brands internally. I've had those conversations even here. You have to have these internal conversations about where do we want this to go? And sometimes you have to strip it down to build it up, and you've had to do that a few times.
Yeah.
So you
Several
go through
times.
that process.
Yeah.
And to get to where you want to be, to start to peel into other areas, to get to that point, you go so far as to do, you talk about the little things, but that is so understated. I see online, you make your folks write little personalized notes to the clients, develop, you have it down to a science of what I talk about, and I've talked about it here, of going from a customer to a client, and what is involved in that. And I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
You want to take someone that makes a transactional relationship, but turn it into a client relationship. And what's the main difference? A customer buys something once, a client stays with you forever.
Yeah. Yeah, it comes down to caring. And, you had said that, I make my team write the notes. Like, I've trained them to understand why it's important. And now, they look forward to and proactively seek out opportunities to do something to blow one of our clients' minds, to make our clients feel special, basically to show our clients that we legitimately care about them and are vested in their success. I mean, they come to us for a very specific reason, and that's not just to buy food. I mean, we're not a food company. We're not a meal prep company. I mean, we're a lifestyle transformation company, and we have tens of thousands of people that have utilized our services, and just dramatic transformations that have occurred throughout the tenure of our business. And the fact is, it's not our product, our physical product. It's the service that is accompanied with the product that is ultimately the factor that really makes the difference in, supporting our clients along their journey, holding them accountable, educating them, motivating them, just showing them that, hey, if you get off track, like, don't worry about it. We're here to help you get back on. That's what ultimately makes the difference, and that's what creates the customer loyalty. And, when you prioritize the customer experience, basically, you don't really have to worry about word-of-mouth advertising. That is always going to be taken care of in itself.
Let me ask you this. When you are working with a particular client, and I got into this a little bit with Stan Efferney and Jay, when you're working with them, do you ever find yourself, kind of so involved in their process of the journey, someone that really hits home and it strikes a nerve with you where you want to get, you want to really get one-on-one with them and take them to the next level? Like, you're inspired. I guess the word I'm looking for is inspired by what they're trying to accomplish. Maybe they're trying to lose 200 pounds, and maybe, it's not so much the stage. I don't want to talk about like the stage. I'm talking about the average guy, regular customer. Has anyone ever really like hit home with you, where you've picked up the phone and you said, I want to talk to them?
Several times, man. I mean, look, that's when I was starting this business, that was for several years. Like, I was very involved and dealt with their clients personally and directly. I mean, for years I had like literally every customer's number in my personal phone, and they had my phone. That's when I was building the company and doing all the work. Now I have a team in place that does that, and they know who needs that extra. You know what I'm saying? Who needs that extra? And we actually have a board in the client relations office of people who really need some help. People that have a long journey ahead, shall we call it. And, like that's an opportunity we look forward to. We embrace that. We seek out that. And it's fun. I mean, that's one of the upsides, and things that we look most forward to, is being able to be part of that person's process and know that the little extra love and support and coaching and accountability that we provided them ultimately, served as the catalyst to them being successful. I mean, we've had people lose 200 pounds. I have a guy that started with our company 2 months ago. He lost 80 pounds in his first 7 weeks.
Wow.
Legit. And again, didn't do it crash dieting, doing a shitload of, he did it the right way. He came in, he had the right mindset, and something just flipped, man. And he just got after it. And, you know, it's just one of those things where, like, you know, you see that in front of you. It is inspiring. It makes you realize, because, you know, you don't just see the physical transformation, you see the mental transformation. You see him thinking differently. You see him, you know, doing his hair better, like grooming his facial hair, like just the confidence that comes in. And it's awesome, man. And we do that at scale.
You hear that, Q? There's hope for you. You too can lose weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm serious. You can do it, man. I'm rooting for you. Keep eating that chicken.
And the Quest bars, of course.
And the Quest bar. He's laughing in there. You know, it's really important. I had a company come to me, and this all hits home for me because I've watched your process, and I've stolen things from your process. I'm man enough to admit it. I've watched how you do things.
Thank you.
And I said to a company once, they said, "How do we?" This is a very large optics company. They said, "How do we get to the next level? Like, what do you see?" And I said, "You know, you really need to take a hard look at your customer process from the moment they hit purchase on your website to the moment they receive the product. What's all involved in that?" And I feel like companies don't pay enough attention to that. And they said, "Well, what do you mean, John?" I said, "How does the packaging go out? How do they receive the product? Do they get it? You know, are you giving, you know, and optics are expensive. It's a different world, but I said, they're getting a $5,000 optic. Do they get a thank you card from you guys? Do they get, you know, what's all involved in that? How does the packaging even look?" Because I've seen you literally look at stuff and you're like, "This looks like shit. I'm not going to send it.
Yeah.
I won't send it." And that has hit home to me. And I think not enough companies and businesses and people who are out there building brands take a hard enough look at that part of the process.
Yeah. So, you know, like if you're shipping something to someone, and let's say, I mean, regardless if it's their first time doing business with you or if it's someone's been with you a while, I mean, they get the package and, you know, things like busted up, looks like shit. The labels are on there like crooked, jacked up, right? The tape job looks like a 6-year-old, you know, did it drunk. Like it makes a statement. And again, like people might not, again, they might not see it. And it might be like, "Oh wow, this looks like shit," but it registers subconsciously. And like, that is not what you want. And like, as I said, it is much easier to maintain a consistent standard of excellence across the board than to just like, okay, well, we're not going to really give a shit about our packaging. We're not going to really give a shit about our customer service, but we're going to have a really, really good product. It's like, look, like, why not just check all those boxes so you're able to dominate? You're able to make, I mean, look, when you get a package, that is the first thing, the first touch, I guess, shall we call it, that a customer will see is the pack. That's the first impression that you're going to make on them. And you know, when you got to get your team to care, you got to get your team to want to care, and the way that you do that is by teaching them why it is important, teaching them
the emotional attachment.
Yeah, the emotional attachment. It's like, look, like, we're in the business of helping people change their lives, and a lot of times, you know, people come to us, they are, look, man, they're struggling. Their health isn't. I mean, we've had people that have come and we're literally on the cusp of full-blown diabetes, and we're obviously, you know, profoundly overweight. And it's like they got to that point because, you know, they didn't have discipline. They didn't. They just live a very unhealthy lifestyle. And when you go from, you know, eating like shit all the time and just being inactive to making that transition to starting to eat well and starting to exercise, like, it's difficult because your body is used to being inactive. Your body is used to taking in, you know, shit that, you know, when you start to eat clean, it doesn't taste as good as you can imagine, you know, and you're eating heavily processed refined foods like that. It's like it's addictive. So we have to make sure that we're not giving people a reason to want to quit, to kind of give in to those voices that are coming in. "Oh, you know, this isn't for me," that bullshit. Like, so we want to overwhelm our clients with an experience in such a way where, like, they're excited and eager and just like proud to be part of the Nutrition Solutions family, not just because of the results they get. That's part of it, but because, you know, they understand that they're a part of something where the team actually gives a shit.
Now, this is going to be really important. You've taken a personal pride in something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's dessert items. Okay? I've seen you on the sneak.
Okay.
Okay? Harp over these dessert items.
Yeah,
And I want to say that you share the same love.
I do.
I know Tony, Real World Tactical, if you're out there listening, and I know he will, he has a deep love for dessert items as well. You've got Cookie Monster, you got all kinds of good shit on that menu. Where do you come up with the ideas and how, is it because you love desserts?
So, I mean, I have to think that is factored in there, right? But the reality of it is when I started to learn how to eat good, which I'm still learning. I mean, look, we're always learning, we're always evolving, right? But around the age of 28, I started to realize that, wow, like what I thought was eating healthy, like I've been eating like I thought eating healthy was eating drinking muscle milk protein shakes back in the day, like when it first came out. Like now they cleaned it up, but it was shit back in the day. And tropical smoothie twice a day, which I'm not sure if you know what that is. So it's just basically this place you go.
No, I know the Island Oasis.
Right.
Yeah, I know exactly.
So
what
like,
you mean.
dude, I thought I was the fucking man. Like,
man.
and when you're younger, like
1,000 calories.
Yeah, you're younger. You can eat things like that and still like look really good. But then as I drew an awareness to proper nutrition and feeling my body, it's been a journey. One of the things that I realized, the thing that a lot of people have a difficult time sustaining it over the long term is the reason people have a hard time staying consistent is due to a lack of variety and mental gratification. So in order to successfully see your journey through, not diet, right? I hate that word. There's a negative, when you think diet, I have to go on it. It's always a negative. So we've removed that from the equation. But when you're, eating in a way that's consistent with, looking better, feeling better, performing better, it's important to stay ahead of those cravings. It's important to kind of manipulate your brain, your mind in a way where you never get to that point where you're craving, that tub of ice cream at, 11 p.m. and the fucking thing of cookies to kind of mix in with it. And if you incorporate healthy desserts in moderation, strategically, not only do you kind of check that box and feel mentally gratified, but by doing it consistently, it legitimately cuts out that mental urge or that craving to go, deviate and get off the path. And that's extremely important because, a lot of times people will eat like super healthy, what they perceive in their mind to be super healthy. And then on the weekends, they just lose their fucking mind because, Monday through Friday, they're eating the same things all the time and they don't actually enjoy them. They're eating the same things and they get nowhere because, you completely offset your 5 days of work and the 2-day binge eating. So by incorporating, the healthy donuts, we have protein cookies, we have protein bars and protein pancakes that we use breakfast cereal and chocolate chips and just other little sweet things. You're basically able to set things up in a way where, the people feel like they're cheating, but they're not. And, that's a big deal. And we have seen, with their company, obviously we have analytics and things of all of our different programs and the people who use what. Our customer lifetime value, the people who actually incorporate those things in their program actually stay on longer and get better results. Imagine that.
I know. It's crazy. The idea is, I want to get to how you come up with them, like the cookie, like this stuff resonates.
I didn't come up with that one, just so you know. I come up with a lot, but one of my team members did.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Because where it's going right now, you have some ties, obviously, to some WWE guys. You remember when we were kids and there was those WWE bars, the ice cream bars? I know
yes,
you know what
of
I'm
course.
talking about.
Those are amazing.
If we could get if we could talk to Hunter and we can get some type of leasing agreement where we could recreate those in a Nutrition Solutions dessert item. It can't be ice cream, obviously.
Right.
So let's get that out of our head because it'll melt. But we can do something that has like Jake the Snake. Remember they used to get
Legends.
the Legends series of bars. I think that would be freaking amazing. And they were such horrible bars, but we used to fight for them as kids, and you get the card with them. The
Card. I remember. I used to buy them out of the ice cream truck.
Oh my God, they were amazing.
Yeah, they were.
I loved those things.
Fuck, dude, I want some ice cream now. It's like 9 in the morning.
Oh my God.
No, just kidding.
We can get to the Wynn buffet fast enough. But so let's get into this because you're stemming into another topic.
Yeah.
You're obviously ripped, and you're in far better shape than I'll ever be. I'm just not capable of that. I like my cereal too much.
No, that's not true.
I like my dessert.
Yeah, you just don't prioritize it. Everybody is capable. It's just a matter of priorities, man. You get a lot of other shit going on, but
I'm a walking disaster.
Yeah.
So, when you do cheat, do you do the binge thing? Do you ever like? You don't publicize it, so I need to know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking. So, okay, first of all, I'm going to address the latter part of the question statement. I don't publicize it because I think it's setting a bad example. I know that, like the average person, unfortunately, I could post, I don't know, I don't really post my food that much. I could post 20 healthy meal pics a week, which I don't, but I could, and then post one not good pizza or whatever once a month, and people will see that, and then in their minds they will say, "Oh, so he does it, so it's okay." And it's like, no, like it is not. If you're not where you want to be, like, dude, I probably work out a lot more than you. My eating habits are probably a lot better. So like, I try to set a good example by not advocating things that aren't really consistent with, you know, helping people or providing value. But of course I cheat. Of course I eat things that, you know, aren't super clean all the time. How often do I do it? I mean, you didn't ask that, but I'd be happy to answer. Like if I had to put a actual number of days, I would say twice a month I will order like some sushi, right? Which is not like cheating. I order sushi every week, but I'll order some sushi, and then I'll order like a couple pieces of carrot cake with it, and get after it. I mean, look, these carrot, they're little bullshit pieces. I mean, we're talking like fucking massive.
We're talking like bigger than cheesecake. We're talking
after the fact. I'm like bloated and full of regret.
Like Del Frisco's cheesecake. Like,
I haven't had that, so I will never eat like that out in public. That's like a rule I have. Like if I'm at a birthday like dinner or something, they bring out a cake, like to be part of the festivities and to like. I've noticed that at birthdays when they bring out the cake, a lot of people like will act like they don't want some. So I've taken note of that. So I'm always like the first one. So people are like, oh, he's doing it, it's okay. So I like a little piece then. But if I'm gonna eat like a low life, bro, it's gonna be like at home in sweats, like so I can just immediately like lay down, which I don't advocate doing, but I'm just being honest. I do it a couple days a month.
What would be you'll never do it, and you've said the reasons why. It would be really funny to do a Nutrition Solutions series of videos of you like in the closet with a giant piece of cheesecake, and one of your managers comes in and takes it away, and he says, now I'm setting the example.
So like just to kind of add to that, back in a few years back, like before we incorporated some of these healthy desserts, which I legitimately eat some of that stuff every day, whether it's one of our donuts. Like this last week, they did Kit Kat protein pancakes.
I saw
Dude, those are amazing. Like I'm like, fuck that. Why didn't we do that like a year ago? But it's like by eating stuff like that, dude, and by making sure, like another thing, I eat all throughout the day. I've found that a lot of people who struggle with their weight, a lot of people who struggle with their nutrition, it's like they try to like not eat.
Yeah, I know.
How's that working out for you?
Yeah,
it's like that
common.
will never end well. So when you don't eat all day and then you know, of course, at night you just end up loading up, like, dude, you're fucked. And you might not even be taking in like an exorbitant amount of calories, but when your body doesn't know what the hell is going on, you're not fueling it properly throughout the day, it basically will store as much of those calories as fat as it can because you're not feeding it adequately to whereas it's able to maintain its normal processes. So by eating consistently throughout the day and making sure every portion is pretty similar or if not identical, like I never really get to the point where I'm like crazy hungry. I like, believe it or not, John, when I cheat, it's really not because like I feel like I need to. It's like I want to. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's like I want to. I want to. I just crushed legs. I did 2 high intensity workouts today. Like my body's like a furnace right now. It's like, you know what? I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. I'm going to put in more calories. I know it's not going to hurt me as bad.
Yeah, I go through the same thing. I train in the morning about 4 a.m. and then I do jujitsu at night. You know, most nights. Obviously, this week being busy, it's hard for me to juggle everything. But that's kind of my tact. And usually I come out of jiu-jitsu at night, I'm exhausted. I mean, if you haven't done jiu-jitsu, it exhausts you. Yeah. So by the end of it, I want to eat something, and I do my best to not stop at In-N-Out Burger, which isn't my MO. I don't do a lot of drive-thrus, but you know, I'll try my best to have something really healthy. Like sushi is a big go-to for me too, you know, and I don't, you know, and I know what you're saying when you say sushi is a cheat meal. And I try to explain this to everybody. It's a cheat meal in the sense that you'll eat as much of it as you want.
Right. Right.
You'll eat as much of it as you want.
Yeah, I eat sushi like 3 days a week.
Like 2 boats.
I eat sushi 3 days a week, but I'm eating it in the portions that I'm normally eating. But when I cheat, it's like, all right, you know, whatever. Like, let's go.
You go to town.
Yeah.
And that's what you mean by that.
Yeah.
Like I'll order.
You can cheat with grilled chicken breast, right?
Yeah.
Like if you were able to physically put down that much chicken.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But when you have sushi, like like I'll order 4 or 5 rolls.
Sure.
If I'm going to town.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll just chainsaw through them. I want to talk about your training style a little bit because
Yeah.
you post a lot and talk a lot about, you know, these outside workouts and these HIIT workouts and the different things that you do. How would you classify your training style and what made you come up with the whole working on the job scenario? You know, while like lunch or breakfast, you know, you have people in there and they're freaking training.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like fitness changed my life and continues to, right? Like I love fitness. I love, obviously, you know, looking great naked is fun, but like, you know, that's probably 4th or 5th on the list as far as why it's so important and the impact that it's had and continues to have on my life. I mean, I just like being able to push myself and just do things that are really, really difficult that challenge me mentally. I mean, by doing that, when we voluntarily seek out discomfort, there's a lot of things that happen there. I mean, like it gives us an opportunity to improve on our discipline, our confidence, our mental toughness, our resiliency. And, you know, unfortunately, those things are lacking in, you know, the majority of society in this country. People tend to fold and buckle and crumble anytime, you know, some small hint of adversity shows up in their life. And, you know, I found that, like, if we proactively seek out discomfort and just learn to just harden ourselves and just get familiar with being extremely uncomfortable, I mean, it makes it a lot easier to venture out of our comfort zone in other areas, which, of course, is the only way we grow, the only way we'll be able to make progress, the only way we'll be able to accomplish success. So I've incorporated that in my business. Like, you know, twice a week, I pay these guys to do a very hard CrossFit boot camp style workout early in the morning before work, where, you know, they're I mean, look, they're going hard. They're pushing each other. I mean, you know, I get out there with them sometimes. I kind of like to let them do their thing. You know, when I'm out there, it gets a little more aggressive, so I tend to, you know, not go as
tone it down a few clicks.
Yeah,
you
so
don't want to scare them away.
Yeah, but you know, when they do that, like they're able to learn a lot about themselves. They're able to push one another, support each other, and they're able to grow as a team. It improves camaraderie. But again, it's about mental fitness as well. I mean, they don't need those workouts to get physically fit. They can do that on their own time. But the mental fitness and, you know, those type of workouts, like most people just can't put themselves. They can't just show up and do the type of workouts that I do without some sort of like stimulus.
And you're motivating them.
Exactly.
You know, and you're motivating them. You're getting behind them and pushing them. It's not about you putting on a show.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Ruben Alvarez and Tony and everything, we were down at this Leo training, and I was with the guys before they go through their final, you know, hell thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know, and I know you're gonna get out of here.
No.
I know, you know, but we'll wrap soon anyway. But I was getting the guys ready, and then one of the guys goes, you know, how bad is it? I go, it's nothing you haven't been through. You've been through SWAT training. You're gonna make it. It's nothing crazy. You're gonna be fine. And they said, well, what if we die? Would you help us? I said, that's not my job. I'm not here to instruct, and I'm not here to save your life.
If you die,
yeah, you die. And they said, well, what is your job? I said, I'm here to give you hope. And one of the guys got a kick out of it. I said, there has to be a guy there that supports you and brings you up. I said, you have to have that rah-rah guy.
But look, just to add to that, like, I think that in society today, there is just a huge misconception between what is hard and what is bad.
Of course.
Hard does not mean bad. Mm-hmm. People need to change their, you know, framework towards that. And they need to look at hard as good. I mean, hard is good. It gives you an opportunity. If it's not hard, I mean, there's how can you get better? How can you push your limits? How can you discover your limits? You know, when I go and I do these workouts, I do these crazy exercises that people see. I mean, Tony has been a huge inspiration for me. A lot of the stuff that I've done, I've either, you know, modeled from Tony, copied from Tony. I mean, there's nobody who's doing it like he is. Like, but doing that type of training, like, it allowed me to take my confidence to the next level. I mean, obviously it got me in better shape too, but again, that's like, fourth or fifth. By doing that stuff, I mean, you push yourself, you feel like you're going to fucking die. Your heart's beating out of your chest after the fact. You feel amazing. And then you take that with you throughout the rest of the day. And then you just take that confidence with you, you apply it towards other things. But it's really, really important, people understand, like, if you want to set your actions up in a way with your fitness where you're able to continuously move forward and continuously like get better and not like hit these plateaus that a lot of people will complain of, like, you have to do new shit. You have to try different things, and you have to go to the gym, and instead of doing the things that you always do, the things that are most comfortable, the things that you do every chest day, every arm day, every back day, like, go into the gym and just ask yourself, what is the thing that I would literally rather die than do? Like, what's the thing I want to do the very least? Go do that shit. The only reason you don't want to do it is because you suck at it. The reason you suck at it is because you never fucking do it. The way we get better at things is by doing.
I love that. I want to leave it there. That's amazing. So tell everybody where they can find you and what's the best way to reach you.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me on, man.
Oh, man, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
It just blew my mind. I got 4 pages of notes.
Awesome. Yeah, so at Chris Cavallini on just everywhere. ChrisCavallini. Yeah, if you like the vibe, I have a podcast, the Start Today podcast.
It's amazing.
Thank you, John. It's available wherever you find your podcast. So, yeah, hit me up. Guys, if you listen to this, send me a DM. Let me know your feedback. And, yeah, I mean, if there's something you'd want to see us talk about in the future, I mean, I'd love to hear it.
No, definitely go check out Chris' podcast. It's amazing. I listened to a few episodes the other day on the road, and don't hesitate to hit him up. He's very gracious, super understanding, and more than willing to listen to any of you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and go check out Kavar. Go visit kavar.com. I appreciate everyone. I appreciate Chris for coming in. He's family, so guys, slide into the DM carefully. I appreciate everyone. Q, get us out.